Hello everyone, welcome to Corney. Alec Neil, Jacob Murphy have just been through. What did you make of all that, Pad? That was quite a feisty with Alec. I mean, he came out fighting, didn't he? Fair to say.
Yeah, no, he's definitely not. There's no white towel in his back pocket, that's for sure, and he's not getting waved anytime soon. But yeah, definitely on the front foot today. Trying to process it because it went on forever and ever. But
it's half an hour, 31 minutes.
Yeah, half an hour. Yeah, I mean, a lot of good topics covered. But to be honest, the underlying theme was maybe he feels some of the criticism has gone a bit too far now. Personally, I suppose directed at him, at his team, and he's trying to emphasise context in terms of where they are in the season, how many points left to play, what they've done so far, the injuries. You know, they're all valid mitigation, if you like. But you know, I don't think there is any sense of a down that or overplaying exactly the situation they find themselves in, and ultimately it's all about what happens on the pitch. You know, we've had a long chat here now, and he's certainly got a few things off his chest, but it's what happens at Derby, really.
Yeah, he did have a little dig at some of the media comments, but I guess you guys don't really want to care about that, and ultimately we all say we always give our own opinions honestly and fairly, and that's what we do. It was interesting to me that he mentioned the fact that the things he's been hearing from people about Premier League squad, Premier League players were the same as when he arrived, and he really doesn't like it, and he's been trying to drill in that that's not the way to be. I mean, we've heard it a lot recently. It surprised me. It's great that he's acknowledged it and said it, and it surprised me that we're in this situation where it's happened again. But I guess he was talking about the club in general as well as players and board and people like that.
What I don't like, and we heard it again today, is this basically implication that they won 7 out of 8 and they got complacent, and that's underlying what's happened since. Well, I'm sorry, but there shouldn't be any complacency. The situation they're in, they got relegated last season. They should be fully to the metal. Look at Newcastle, what they're doing, irrespective of the debate about the vast wealth they've got there and the resource that they've got. You know, Norwich are no poor relation to the majority of this division, and for them to be complacent and got to the mindset, which is effectively what he's been saying. They said it again today, that it was almost we just had to turn up. That's not acceptable. It's not acceptable, and that stems from the manager. He has to set the tone. You know, he should be on their case if he sensed any trace of, you know, we've only got to go through the motions, because they've found out in brutal fashion in the intervening month or so, they go through the motions, then they will be basically heading towards mediocrity in this division. So, you know, that is what irks me really, is that they got to a point where they thought they were better than they were. They're not. They're Championship players, and the less we hear about it's a Premier League squad or, you know, they've retained Premier League players, they haven't. They've got Championship players, and they need to crack on again.
It's interesting. I think not many teams can turn 7 wins out of 8 into a negative, which is effectively what's happened, because it's made them complacent by all accounts. And he was very defensive about his team selections, tactics as well. You were quizzing him quite hard on that. What did you make of what he came out with?
Well, I mean, I just thought the point about youngsters is a valid one in terms of, in this 4-week period, Jacob Murphy aside, have we seen? Okay, Louis Thompson was in and unfortunately he's picked up a knock, but have we seen these other lads who would inject a bit of energy and a bit of dynamism and a bit of enthusiasm, which from what I can see has been sadly absent with the tried and trusted? He basically came back to me and more or less defended his record in terms of developing young players, and this club apparently hasn't had a season in a long time where there's been so many young players in and around it. That's fine in the EFL Trophy or the EFL Cup or development competitions, but we're talking about the last 4 weeks in the Championship when it's basically just been, to my mind, just this kind of listing kind of frustration in terms of the performance levels and what they're producing. Why not pep it up? I said on the Q&A earlier in this week, they couldn't have been any worse if you'd put a few of them young players in. Whether I take his point about they're not ready, and I know, and of course his record in terms of youth development, you saw what he did at Hamilton, bringing through the McCarthys and the MacArthurs. Nobody doubts that A, he is pro-youth, and B, he can develop players. But to almost just basically park the Canoses, park the Godfreys and these characters, you know, Josh Murphy, he's getting 2 minutes here or there, isn't he? What was to lose when you're on this downward spiral? And it might have gone the other way. They might have just injected something and sparked it again, and then you take them out again, as we've seen with Jacob. You know, we're not saying now but throw out the old players, bring in the young brigade, and go with that. Of course you don't. But that here and now, that what they've been badly missing, for my mind, is a spark. And you get that with young players. You get that energy because they're not scarred, if almost, by what's gone on before. So, I find it strange on that particular topic. But ultimately, he's right. He sees them day in, day out. So, really, you have to go with his judgment.
Well, whether Alex Pritchard's involved in that as well, because he dropped out of the 18 entirely up at Queen's Park Rangers. So we'll see if we see him this weekend at Derby. Johnny House and Eva Pinto still going to be out for a while by the sounds of it. Matt Jarvis not too far away.
Sounded like it,
so that's promising.
Yeah, I mean, nobody disputes the two you mentioned there, Howson and Pinto, massive players. And I think the stats show as well, when they've been in the side this season, that's pretty much where the wins and the draws have come from. So, of course, you're going to miss those two. But, as I say, it sounds like Malumbu is probably going to be close to selection this weekend. And I think a player of his ilk is badly needed, I think. Because, again, I asked him central midfield. I just feel on this run, they've basically not been good enough, and in the Championship particularly, where a lot of it is energy and endeavour, they've just, for my mind, lost that key area of the pitch, and it's no coincidence there that results have followed.
Got a quick chat with Jacob Murphy, who came in as well. So Jacob, nice to talk to him briefly. He's got his new contract, hasn't he? And we'll see if Josh follows at some point. But Jacob, happy enough? Yeah,
it's a good sign. It's a good sign, and I will take the manager's point that, if it was complete shell of a club, then a young man like that wouldn't be hanging around for the next 4.5 years. So you do have to maybe look beyond this month that we're going through, which nobody really wants to go through in or outside the club, because it's not particularly pleasant, is it, for anybody? But I think longer term, it's a good signal, and there's no doubt, with what he was doing earlier in the season, there will be suitors from a higher level, and he could quite easily have maybe sat on his hands, saw this season out, and then seen what was there in the summer, particularly if Norwich don't do what we hope they do and get themselves back at the first attempt. So it's a positive signal, but it's one shining light in what is a fairly depressing period at the minute.
Lovely, isn't it? Loads of fun. But we will both be at the iPro on Saturday. Can't wait. So don't forget pinkham.com for all the pre-post videos, audios, and even some words, if you're lucky. And live coverage too. We'll see you down there. Looking forward to it, Bad?
Not really, no.
There you go. See you later.